So I had a pretty good response to the last video I did, just talking and responding to questions. So I thought I'd try it with a different topic today. I've been working on a presentation for a local high school for their health class and their May term, and just talking about what I do on a day-to-day basis, trying to encourage wellness through exercise and nutrition. And while I'm not a nutritionist, it's obviously super important aspect to what I do, and it only enhances the training when we eat well. And so I thought maybe I would kind of go into how I approach it. I get this question often between online members, online clients. It's a topic that is discussed in my gym weekly. And it's something that, as somebody who, as I've shared numerous times, used to be very heavy, almost 300 pounds. I don't know what that is in kgs. And I compete at 205. That's pretty much my walk around weight right now is right around between 204, 206. So I'm pretty consistent in that regard. And so it's something that I've been able to do for 18 years now is keep the weight off. And as you find yourself online and looking at different sources of media to consume, you might hear that it's impossible to with diet culture, it's impossible to keep weight off long term. Too many people just they choose unsustainable methods to lose the weight, the excess weight, and that makes it hard to commit long term. And it's easy to quit when things get difficult or things stagnate. And it's not that 95 or 98% of diets don't work. It's that 95 to 98% of the people choose unsustainable methods and quit. And at least that's in my opinion, in my observational experience. Obviously, I am a subject of one, and what works for me is not necessarily accurate for everyone. It would be a lie for me to market myself as a weight loss guru or a body transformation specialist and say, I've got the secret to a program that all you need to do is follow what I do to look like me or perform like me or whatever I want to throw in there. That would be a lie. Not everyone is created equal. Not everyone has the same limb length, the same mental. It was kind of funny today. One of my group classes, one of the members was giving me a hard time and said that not everybody hates themselves as much as you to do what you do. And I got a good chuckle out of that because, yeah, there's some different wiring that goes on up here. Sometimes it's very beneficial and sometimes it's not. It's something that I have to try to balance. And so anyway, I'm rambling already. Let's get into this presentation. So I've got my notes here in front of me. So when I'm looking down, I'm trying to find out where I'm at. I apologize. I'm not a public speaker. But so the whole point was to talk about health and wellness in our society today, and what I do as a gym owner and as an online programmer or an online coach. Here in Iowa, we are currently one of 19 states that have an obesity percent of over 35. We are ranked 11th in the nation, so not very good. This study is using BMI as the calculations to determine obesity, and that's a BMI of over 30. And I can already hear the people in the comments typing away about how BMI is inaccurate, and for the individual, you can make that argument. For me, my BMI is right around 27, and if a BMI of 30 is considered obese, you know, the individual, but the BMI isn't used for the individual, it's used for large populations. And you know, when you take a step back and you look at Iowa as a whole, or the nation as a whole, I do think that BMI does a pretty good job of taking a snapshot of what our society is doing and presenting as. We're not healthy. You can hang out at any Walmart and you can see with your own eyes. And just because you as an individual may or may not be a good representation of what BMI, the data from BMI, does not mean that it does not do a good job with the mass population. That was something I used to tell myself as well when I was heavy. Was that I carried way. We tell ourselves lies. We all do. And I was very guilty of that. But why is this important? So, you know, as adults, we look at medical expenses. $170 billion is what we had spent annually on the treatment of obesity and obesity-related complications, obesity-related diseases. You know, when we talk about healthcare and shared healthcare expenses, you know, it is a problem for everybody, and it is something we lack as a society, personal responsibility. And we're all in our feelings and our emotions, and we're always looking for victim points, and it's not our fault. And this is the result of that, where we eat our feelings and we distract ourselves to the point that we're ill, and it's not a good place to be. So the point again of this presentation with the high school kids is, here's where we're at, here's where we're trending, here's how we can hopefully get a hold of that and make some changes that'll last long term. One of the issues then becomes is how we can we use, you know, the nutrition information on the products that we consume. You know, the FDA allows, I believe, a 20% plus or minus. So if something were to be labeled as 100 calories, it could be as low as 80 or as high as 120 calories in this package, and still be labeled as 100 calories. And that can become problematic for people that consume that sort of product. The larger, we tend to underestimate our calorie consumption. I believe the stat that I read last was, and don't quote me on these stats, don't get into the comments with all these different stuff. I mean, let's have a conversation, yes, but it's something like 47% of the people that were polled or in this study, involved in this study, underestimated. Sorry, I had to stop that. I got lost in my notes here and in my thoughts. So I'm just going to read that slide so I don't screw it up. But we were talking about overestimating and underestimating calories. And the study that I was referring to was from the New England Journal of Medicine and investigated people that described themselves as diet resistant. These people claimed that in order to lose weight, despite restricting their calories to fewer than 1,200 per day. But it turned out in their nutrition journals that they underestimated their average calorie intake by 47% and overestimated their physical activity by 51%. And so what we're getting at is that the calorie restriction is often very necessary, but making better food choices and moving more is what's going to make the difference. And so we're probably just, not only are we choosing foods that are not nutrient dense, for lack of a better term, we're just not moving, and that's, I think, fairly obvious. Again, as you look at what society is presenting itself as. So where does that leave us, as nearly 70% of adults in the US are over fat or obese? Over 60% of teens and children are expected to be in that same category by the age of 19. And I think we expect this anymore. It's common for us to see people with a BMI over 30. And I think that is the problem, because it's common. We associate that as being normal. And eating yourself and not moving yourself to deformity and illness, while might be common in our current culture, it's not normal and will never be normal. We need to disassociate common and normal. Our foods are hyper palatable. We're distracted, and so of course this is where we end up as being this over fat and sick and deformed society. And we need to do much better with education and preventative measures, and not just trying to react to things. When you get a poor doctor's report, we need to get in front of that sort of thing. So I had mentioned distractions. With social media, it's easier than ever to become distracted. It's easier than ever to find a community online to encourage what our delusion has become. It's easy to find people to tell us that we're special and we're perfect as we are and we don't need to change. Thinking back to like when I was on my fat loss journey, I would have been one of those people that would have looked for an online community to tell me that I'm okay and that I'm special and that I don't need to change for anybody. But I didn't have that, thankfully. I didn't have someone to blow smoke up my ass. I just had the mirror, and the mirror was the truth that I needed. And I didn't like who I was, how I looked, how I felt, and that was the reality that was able to keep me intentional. And thankfully, I found some good mentors that weren't on social media. I found some people that were able to keep me accountable and beyond just my wife, who was a huge part of my success, but people elsewhere that didn't know me personally and weren't going to be afraid to tell me what I needed to know instead of what I wanted to hear. But again, the social media thing, it's a huge trap. It's a time suck. We lose hours of our day every day on these different apps, and one of the biggest excuses I hear in my world of gym culture is that I just don't have time. Levi, if I worked at a gym like you do, I'd look like you, or it would be way easier for me. Or no, man, it's not that at all. It's that we have no concept of time. It's the one thing that should be priceless and that we can never have back. As someone here that has an adult child, and thinking back to all the time that I missed and all the time that I've wasted, here I am making a social media video, but again, the reality is we just waste time. We have no concept of time. We want to be fat and distracted. I love the term bread and circuses. Like it's never been easier to keep us fat and distracted. Never. And that's exactly. I don't think there's a term that better describes, our current state of delusion, fat and distracted, bread and circuses. Anyway, I'm not trying to be on a soapbox here, but the other problem then that comes with and this maybe is a topic for another time, so I'll just be brief. But the other problem with social media is comparison, and a lot of us, myself included, use food to self-medicate. And when we're online all day and we're on different social medias and we compare ourselves, whether it's physique or lifestyle or whatever, that we are in that trap of comparing ourselves to people we know or people we don't even know. It a lot of times can make us feel bad about ourselves, and then it's time to self-medicate again, and that might be another donut or another cookie or another soda or whatever your vice is. So I mean there's more to this presentation, obviously, but that's kind of just an overview of a part of it. And what I want to close with then is, so what do I eat? What's the secret? What helps me keep the excess body fat off for 18 years? And it's so simple. It's not easy. It's never easy, but it's so simple. And that's eating real food that I like. Nothing I do is fancy. I don't eat out, or I try not to eat out. If you're on the road or whatever and you're not home, then absolutely, you have to eat out. But plan ahead. Plan your snacks. Prepare your meals at home. Prepare your snacks at home. You know what your schedule is going to be like for the most part. If I'm eating food that I purchased from the grocery store and I'm preparing it myself, I know what the additives are. I know what the preservatives are. I know how much sugar I'm consuming. My goal each meal is to have protein, some high quality fat, and some fiber. I try to limit my sugar intake and artificial ingredient intake as much as humanly possible. I don't have a problem with carbohydrates, but I try to make sure my sources are what keep my body thriving and recovering. It's very boring, compared to what a lot of people eat. And that's okay, because to me, keeping a healthy body weight and healthy body fat levels allows me to live a life that I want to live on the terms that I want to live it. And I'm not held back by, sizes of seats or, how far do I have to walk? Is it uphill? Is it hot outside? Did I, bring the right clothes? I can just do what I want to do when I want to do it. I don't have to be mentally prepared, and that helps me live the life that I want to live. But real basic, I would work to eliminate added sugars and consume high quality protein. Stay hydrated, get your sleep, turn off your phone, turn off social media, stop distracting yourself. We need whatever it is, you have to enjoy it. It has to be sustainable. Same for exercise. I have to enjoy what I'm doing, training wise, and I have to enjoy what I'm doing eating wise. You're not going to force me to commit to long-term change if I don't enjoy it. And that's I think most people get caught in this trap of doing something that they can't commit to long term. And if you can't commit to it, then you're not going to do it. It seems simple, because it is. It's just application is always difficult. I hope through all that rambling, something stuck. Let me know. Thanks.